Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Before we get tonight's discussion started, I have a few announcements to make, family. Join me on October the 28th through October the 30th at the All Black National Convention, all right, with Dr. Boyce Watkins and his team. They actually reached out to me maybe a month ago, and they notified me that, first of all, that they wanted me to speak on a panel regarding media manipulation. And so I'll be speaking on a panel during that week. And it's going to be a lot of speakers. A lot of great speakers are going to be there. I heard that Dr. Wesley Muhammad was coming. Brother Nori Muhammad will be there. Myself, Professor James Small, and so many others. I believe Dr. Kaba Kamene. It's going to be so many powerful speakers in the building, during the convention. And so make sure that you get your tickets, family. Get down there to the All Black National Convention. I had the pleasure of going there. This was when they were in Philly. So this was before the pandemic. Dr. Boyce Watkins hosted the All Black National Convention in Philly. My son and I, we drove there and we had a good old time. We had a good time. I love this convention because this convention talks about issues that are endemic to Black people. And so we went and we had a good time. There were a lot of vendors there, a lot of great discussions. And so anyway, family, I will be participating on some of the panel discussions, as well as my brother, student minister Nuri Muhammad, who just joined us backstage. And so we'll all be there. Come on out, join us. Be in the building, family. Get your tickets. I also found out from his team that I was going to be receiving the B1 Excellence in Education Award at the gala. So I will be there with my whole family. My mama, my daddy, everybody's coming out. And so grab your tickets to the gala and come kick it with us. Okay. Come kick it with us, and celebrate. And so it's just an honor to receive the award. I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to just spending time with my Black brothers and sisters, spending time with the Black family, Ashe. And so make sure you join us, not this weekend, but next weekend. Also, family, here we go. Join us at the FBA rally for reparations in DC. And so you see the lineup. We got Brother Reza is in the building. This sister Teslin, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Professor James Small, myself, Dr. Kaba Kamene, Marcel Dixon, and Connie Collins. We will all be there discussing reparations, man. Reparations is long overdue. It's something that we should have gotten. We should have gotten that as soon as we were emancipated, right? Where's the reparations, right? So anyway, it's long overdue. And so we're going to be having that discussion on November the 5th. So if you're in the DMV area, family, come on out. And also join me not next week, the week after next. Dr. Kaba is going to come on there, because as soon as you saw my face and Professor James Small's face and Dr. Kaba's face on here, you all said, well, wait a minute, Doc, aren't you a Pan-Africanist? What is this FBA stuff? What is this FBA stuff? And I thought I stated my position, time and time again about being a Pan-Africanist, as well as a Black nationalist, as well as an African-American, as well as an FBA. We call ourselves so many things. I don't care what you call yourself, okay? Just as long that you understand that we are Black people and we're fighting for liberation, that's all right with me. You call yourself a Moor, you call yourself a FBA, you call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. And so we're going to be talking about that the week after next, right? We're going to be talking about the FBA identity and also reparations. And so I will definitely create a flyer and get the word out when Dr. Kaba will be on the platform. So anyway, family, let's get started. You see tonight's topic, student minister Nuri Muhammad. Okay, we're going to be talking about anti-Semitism, hip hop, and Black manhood, family. And so let me stop sharing my screen and let's bring on this mighty, mighty warrior. All right, peace and Black power.
Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.
A BB to me, a BB Fahodie. Peace to all of my thinkers, truth speakers, and truth seekers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me another powerful guest, but he is no stranger to the community student minister, brother Nori Muhammad. How are you doing tonight, warrior?
Sister Mayad, I'm doing fine by the grace of Allah, and I'm doing even better now that I get a chance to share space and time with you, my mighty sister soldier, on this
Ashe.
battlefield, hurling truth and falsehood consistently, day in and day out for decades. You
Ashe.
deserve
Ashe.
whatever award that we can give you, and I hope that the award inspires you to continue on the course as you have been, with that beautiful smile and that still loving spirit, while yet swinging that sword on our enemy.
Ashe, Ashe, and I appreciate your words, student minister Nori Muhammad. Thank you so much, and that's a lot coming from you, because you've been around, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you do a lot, and so just hearing you say that, I really appreciate your words, and thank you so much for coming on. I called you at short notice. I said, brother, assalamu alaikum. I said, assalamu alaikum, brother. Can you come on? Can you come on the show either today or tomorrow? And you said, oh, I can't come on. You said I can't come on today, but I'll come on tomorrow. And you came on, and I do appreciate that, because I know you're pulled in so many different directions. You travel, you're on different platforms, you're teaching. And so I just appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me tonight to discuss anti-Semitism, hip hop, and Black manhood. And what really prompted me to reach out to you is our brother Kanye West is stirring up a lot of that. He struck a lot of nerves. Okay. So he's out here, he's talking about, the Jews and their control over the media. And he said, and they said, no, you're anti-Semitic. And we've heard this before, student minister. Like, I've heard the minister, he was labeled as anti-Semitic. Nick Cannon was labeled as anti-Semitic. So I wanted to talk to you about the term, and I wanted you to define that term for us, and talk about when it is applied, right? Like, when do they apply this term? Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, as you know, Dr. Mayat, being a professor and a student of history, the power of the mind language, that in language, there are two types of definitions for every word. One is the connotation and one is the denotation. The denotation is the actual definition of the word, while the connotation is the commonly used or commonly accepted definition of the word. Anti-Semitism, or a Semite, if you look in the Merriam dictionary, denotation, the actual definition is relating to or constituting a member of a subfamily of Afro-Asiatic language people. Now, I don't know what Afro-Asiatic means to anybody else, but that sounds like black and triple black.
Right.
So if you are a member of the subfamily of the Afro-Asiatic family, you're considered to be a Semite. So the fathers and mothers of civilization, we black people, are Semitic. The so-called Arabs are Semitic. So that's the real definition. So technically, to call the minister or Ye or anyone anti-Semitic is really false, unless they're anti-black, and they're not that. This label, Dr. Mayat, as you mentioned, has been slapped on Ye. It's been slapped on, of course, the minister, and he's been in this social prison, locked up by this phrase since 1985. Did you know, Dr. Mayat, that Frederick was called an anti-Semite? Martin Luther King was called an anti-Semite. Desmond Tutu was labeled anti-Semite. Nelson Mandela was labeled anti-Semitic. Barack Obama was labeled an anti-Semite. Even Oprah Winfrey has been labeled anti-Semite. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Kwame Ture, J.A. Rogers, Gandhi, go figure, Gandhi. So this has been a label that the ADL, or the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, has used to put on any Black person that begins to challenge the white power structure, and not just white supremacy in the form of construction workers. The construction workers for white supremacy are the common everyday white man that upholds white supremacy in the society. But the architects of white supremacy are those groups of people that promoted the cursed seed of Ham to make us Black people think that we are inferior from God himself. The architects of white supremacy are the owners of the ships that brought our ancestors here to be made slaves. And when you trace back that history, you find that it wasn't just the European Caucasian Jew or European Caucasian white man, but it also was Jewish people that are of a Caucasian descent. So that has been the tail of the tape. So congratulations. Yay, you just got inducted into a great class of freedom fighters and society shifters that the enemy has labeled falsely an anti-Semite. It might mean you're doing something good.
And so, student minister, I wanted to unpack that for a minute when you mentioned the slave trade, because the Nation of Islam, I believe you all published 2 books, The Secret Relationship Between Jews and Blacks. And
Yes.
I'm looking at it, was it the purplish looking book? I want to say you all talked about how they were involved in the slave trade, in the transatlantic slave trade. And so what was their specific involvement? Did they just, were they merchants? Did they pay for it? Did they finance the ships or finance the merchants who were going to get, like, what was their actual, could you describe their role in it? Did they play in all area?
The answer is not A, B, or C, it's D, all of the above. So the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews, one is blue, one is red. And the difference between these blue and red pills versus the Matrix is that on the Matrix, if you took the blue pill, you stayed in a world of illusion. And if you took the red pill, you began to see things as they were and joined the team to fight evil. Well, in this case, the blue or the red secret relationship between Blacks and Jews, both of them will wake you up and have you ready to make war with the Smiths of this world to have us oppressed. So these 2 books, Dr. Mayat, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 1 and 2, these are not books written from the mind of Black scholars. This is a compilation of not Black, not white, but Jewish scholars. The brothers went into Jewish libraries all over the nation and dug into their vaults, in their synagogues, and pulled their records that were indictments against themselves and put them in the book. So when you pick up the book, you're seeing the footnote, and you're seeing the bibliography and the source from which all of these statements come from. And when you read it, it will shake your mind, because this is a hidden aspect of history. We talk a lot about the Arabs' involvement in the slave trade. You even see people talking about the handful of Africans that were involved in the slave trade. We always talk about the English white man, sometimes the West Indies and whatnot. But very rarely do we talk about the white Jewish involvement in the slave trade. But they had a heavy hand in it as ship owners, as auctioneers, as not just slave masters. You know, Dr. Mayat, there are 3 fundamental powers of slavery. You have slave trader, slave maker, and then slave master. A slave trader is involved in capturing and transport. Slave maker is the breaking of the African black man and woman and making them fit for servitude. And the slave master is the management of that broken black man or woman for good, profitable gains. There's a heavy role that Jewish people played in all three, and the heaviest of them from their own documentation was in that slave trader capturing and transport role.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And you're 100% correct. We never talk about that. It's always the Arab, like you said, the European white man, the Arab, and then like you said, the Africans who participated in the slave trade. But we never ever talk about the Jews. Why is that, student minister?
Because they fight you as soon as if you say Hachu, they think you said a Jew. And if you just sneeze, you an anti-Semite. So I looked at 2013, Ye, when he was Kanye West, made a statement, simple statement, that Black people are not as connected to different systems for advancement as Jewish people are, or as oil producers are. Do you know they came out and said that was anti-Semitic? What's anti-Semitic about a statement of a fact? They know that they are connected, and what's wrong with being connected unless your connection has been earned by false means? Why would you care?
Right.
Everybody
Absolutely.
that goes to church, everybody that goes to the mosque, the temple, we all go there and we engage in obedience to law and ritual and service of others with the goal of earning the favor of God. So favor of power is what we all strive for in all spiritual systems. Well, if you say you are a Jew, and he's saying, Kanye, when he was Kanye West 2013, that they have greater connections to different systems that allow them to advance more so than we. How's that anti-Semitic?
Right, if that's the truth.
That is a fact. So this is a very deep issue. And I'm thankful to Almighty God, Allah, that under the circumstances, and please, sisters and brothers, remember, there's not one human being among us that is going to be perfect in their thinking, nor perfect in their words. So don't get caught up on every nuance of what anybody says. And if somebody says one thing that you disagree with, you dismiss the other 50 things that you would have agreed with just because of that one. That's what's wrong with us, Dr. Maya. When Black people come together, if we present 100 things and we disagree on one, we say, you know what, I ain't fooling with this, I'm gone. Back to doing my own thing. But white people, when white people come together, if they present 100 things and they disagree with 99, they'll still work together on that one. Don't let any statement made by any thinker, any shift changer, any leader or teacher among us as a people, don't let the statements that they make that you may not agree with cause you to dismiss all the things you do agree with. Look, we may not see eye to eye on everything.
Right, absolutely.
We should not walk arm in arm on most things.
Absolutely. I mean, I can agree with you more. Is we throw each other away fast, brother Nori Muhammad. We throw, you said I disagree. And the next the person's unsubscribing from your channel. They don't want to listen to you no more, just simply because you may disagree on one thing. We just throw each other away. And I agree with you. White folks say, okay, I may not. White folks say, well, we're gonna agree to disagree, and we're gonna work together and fulfill whatever agenda we want to fulfill. That's what they do. We get mad, like you said, and we walk away from one another. And so we have to really learn to value each other, because if you can throw someone away like this, that you didn't value that person in the first place. And so that's where that whole idea of self-love and Me seeing the God in you and loving the God in you and appreciating the God in you, and then you loving and seeing the God in me, right? And us
That's right.
actually valuing one another. And so when we throw each other away, it speaks volumes of how we actually see one another, how we feel and view, each other. And so that's another problem, but that's another issue that we have. But I wanted to ask you this, just staying on the topic of just the Jews. So when we look at hip hop is controlled by the Jews. The record executives, the labels are owned by the Jews, distribution, all of that stuff owned by the Jews. And to be honest with you, it's very disheartening. I remember reading a post. I came across a post of Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and I think he said that,
Mhm.
and I'm paraphrasing. I probably have to go to his IG, but he said something to the effect that hip hop is a buck broken industry or something like that. He said something along those lines. And so when
Yeah.
he said that, I was going to call him up and ask him to kind of break that down. What did he mean by that statement? But when I sat and I meditated on it, I said, well, yeah, it is kind of book broken. I'm thinking about the content that is promoted, the messages that are promoted in hip hop, the fact that we don't own and control an industry that we created, an industry that depends on our talents, right? That we don't control that. That's buck brokenness, right? The fact that we don't even own and
Right.
control the industry that we created. Also, just the messages that are being promoted. All of that is buck brokenness. And so I wanted to
Yes.
talk to you. I wanted to ask you about that, Brother Nori Muhammad. What do you think, I guess about that statement about Jewish control over an industry that we created, and how we don't have any equity really in hip hop? And so could you talk about that or speak to that, student minister?
Well, there's again, when you speak of being a broken buck, this is a strategy that was employed during slavery. And what the slave master would do to break a buck is to put fear in them that they knew would paralyze them and rob them of their backbone, spine, testicular fortitude, all their spiritual testosterone that makes them a provider, a maintainer, and a protector of their people. They would lose that whenever the buck would be broken. How would they break the buck? They would find any rebellious black man. And the minute that one black man rebelled on the plantation, they wouldn't just beat him. They made sure that they brought all the other men around to watch him beaten. So in the aim of the slave master, I'm going to break one. No, I'm going to break the spirit in you to do anything like he done in all. So in hip hop, in the struggle, anytime that a black man stands up and shows any strength, any courage, any backbone, any, in the words of the minister, testicular fortitude, they automatically began crucifying him to break him in front of others, to get others to bow. And it has been an effective strategy that they employed in 1555, and it still is working today in 2022. Every time a black man stands up and says anything of strength, you see him and everybody connected to him very shortly thereafter on a worldwide apology tour, trying to appease to the enemy. It's something that our journalists have to apologize for the words of their guests. But when you turn on ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, CBS, you turn on any major network, they interview Dahmer, they interview child molesters, they interview rapists, they interview mass murderers, they interview snipers, they interview pedophiles, and they never come out. You've never seen any news anchor come out and have to apologize for the words or statements made by one of their guests on the show. But whenever we do an interview, even though there's a disclaimer put before any interview on any program or platform that the views expressed by the guests may not necessarily represent the views of this particular platform or show or a channel or state. All that's already established. They still make us or we jump in and volunteer as a broken buck to go on this worldwide apology tour.
Absolutely.
It's a fear tactic, and we should be able to have the testicular fortitude and the spiritual integrity to live our life trying to please an audience of one, and that's the Lord of the worlds himself. To hell with everybody else. If the whole world like you and God is against you, you are a loser. But if the whole world hates you and God is with you, you are the winner. So perform, function, teach, live for the audience of one, and you'll never be a broken buck.
And I know what you're talking about, because I was thinking it's not even just one person; it's multiple people, like you said, that will make comments, and then when the Jews step up and say something, you're anti-Semitic, and start, doing things like shutting down bank accounts and pulling shows and pulling deals, then that person goes on an apology tour, like you said, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to offend anybody. And I was just like, man, this, like you said, this is brokenness.
JP Morgan Chase, according to Ye, told him to take his money out. He got to November 21st to take out $140 million that they have in their bank because of their view of him. I said, man, isn't this something? How many racist organizations, groups, how many Klan-minded white people, how many murderers, how many thieves, how many blue-collar and white-collar white criminals have Chase bank accounts?
Oh, come on. Absolutely, Minister.
So you haven't kicked their money out, but you'll kick his out. All of these things, Sister Mayat, are really signs that we should have done what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said for us to do on a mass level and at a much faster pace. He said, do for self or suffer the consequences. Well, he said it in the 50s and the 60s. We have not done it on a mass level, nor have we done it at a fast enough pace. So now we are suffering consequences. We have no platforms that we can call our own. We have no institutions that have leverage that we can put resources in to be able to make the moves we need to make in a major way in the economic societies. But we're at that point now. We need Ye and others to go ahead and find the black banks and drop their money in there.
That's right. And I was
the black bank to start loaning and funding and financing small businesses in the black community that are good for us.
Absolutely.
The white banks will give you a $85,000 loan for Escalade, a $200,000 loan for a school, and get you a degree that might not even work after you get it. They'll give you another $400,000 for a plastic house, but they won't give you even $10,000 for a small business loan.
They won't.
Well, we need our own institutions. So, why not have the banker yet on November 21st?
Absolutely. And I was thinking when I found out that he was banking with JP Chase and Morgan, I was like, why JP Morgan and Chase, right? I was like, why is he with them anyway? I know that they also benefited from our enslavement. So I was like, why?
They admitted it. There's an article you can read from 2008, 2005 or 2008. JP Morgan Chase says, we apologize. We were accepting slaves as collateral for loans that we were given. When we had to call that loan in that someone defaulted on, we did not get money from them. We got slaves from them. And they didn't get the slaves and set them free. They got the slaves and sold them to another slave master. This is the history of America and the history of the banks. Go and look at the Rothschilds, a Jew, and his first institutions of banking and how they invested heavily in Alabama, in the slave trade, in the cotton market. Go look at their history, and you'll find that these same enemies that stand in a position to try to say who is anti this and anti that and whose money should be dismissed, these are murderers, enslavers, and thieves who have everything they have in the form of funds, bonds, trusts, stock, and real estate because they kidnapped a whole nation of people and made us work from Cancy morning to Cancy night for 400 years for free. That's the only reason they have power, is because we built this country with our blood, sweat, and tears. So they have to be very careful on trying to check anybody black when the real proof is we need to check them. In fact, just check them, but take a check from them.
Absolutely.
For all the hell that they've given us and the money they made off of our enslavement.
Absolutely. And student minister, I wanted to go back to Brokenness, right? Like, do you see that in the lyrics as well? I know we talked about the apology tour, but when you listen to hip hop today, do you see or can you identify brokenness within the lyrics, student minister?
Well, it is, as you said, Dr. Mayat, it's not just the breaking of the black man's courage. It is also in the promotion of him in his lowest state. Those that own these record labels, they encourage these artists to make this foul, disrespectful, low down, nation killing music that you hear across the waves. You know why? Because they know that music is the most effective teacher on the planet. If it's not the most effective teacher, tell me this: how do we learn our ABCs? The fundamental building blocks of reading. We learned it through a song. Music, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches, is the universal language of a people. Do you know that Mao Zedong, whenever he took power in China, that most of the population of China were addicted to opium, and the other ones were dealing the opium? So he inherited a nation of drug addicts and drug dealers. In 1 year, they were completely sober, sane, drug-free, and moving with speed in technology, mathematics, and science, and with Chinese pride. Guess what he did? All he did was he made it illegal to be any plays or any music promoted in the public space except those plays, art, or music that uplifted the Chinese people. And by just changing for 1 year, all the art, all of the plays, all of the music to upliftment of Chinese people, in 1 year, they went from drug dealing, drug addict, weak, paralyzed nation to leading the world in science, mathematics, technology, and they became the most sane and sober nation of that time. He did that in 1 year. Now, I never heard, Dr. Maya, I never heard too much Chinese music, but I'm gonna step out there and say that I'm guaranteeing that the skill level of the Chinese artists under Mao Zedong does not match the talent we have in our culture right now with the wordplay that these brothers and sisters are doing. So if they could flip a whole nation from drug dealing and drug using to being powerful, proud, and positive in 1 year with less talent, what would happen to that nation? If these brothers, I just got chills on me. Electricity just ran.
Yes, that's what I said. I knew where you were going.
Imagine if every song you turned on, every sitcom on television, every social media feed, every podcast, all the art we put out was all about the upliftment of the Black man and woman. I'm telling you, it wouldn't even take us a year to be sober and sane and powerful. With these brothers and sisters skill, we'll be on top in about 3 months.
Absolutely. I mean, I
But
couldn't agree with you
that.
more.
They don't want that. Because there's a scripture, Dr. Mayat, that talks about something called Jacob's ladder. And it has a ladder, and the ladder, according to the scholars, has 15 steps on it. And it says in the scripture that there's an angel that's ascending, and there's an angel that is descending at equal rate. This represents, so teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, when Black people are climbing up the ladder, white power has to come down. So every time the angel in Jacob's ladder takes one step up, the other force that's ruling has to take one step down. So these industry owners, these record label owners, these wicked gatekeepers of the industries of Hollywood and music, they know that every step we take up, they got to take a step down because it's our time. So if we were allowed to operate in the space of hip hop and make revolutionary rap with liberation lyrics, with songs about spirituality, with songs about the struggle, I guarantee you, we would climb that ladder in a few months and we would be on top, ruling as God wants us to rule.
Absolutely, student minister. I couldn't agree with you more. Look, as someone put this in the chat, shout out to Les Charles. So Les Charles said, Meltrek should be in every home. So student minister, my family and I produced the Meltrek series back in 2014 and in 2017. Mel is short for melanin. Trek means journey. So we're taking you on a journey to learn about the history, culture, and achievements of melanated people. Part 1 is called Exploring Ancient Africa. Okay, Meltrek episode 1, Exploring Ancient Africa. And in this film, the objective is to teach children that our history doesn't begin with slavery and colonization. You know, that we are the mothers and fathers of humanity, and we built thriving civilizations. And so we talk about that in Meltrek episode 1, but we use hip hop music to teach the children. So it has 3 songs, and in all of the songs, we're saying stuff like, if they can, we can, talking about our ancestors. Great comes from great, and telling our children that the sky is the limit. You know, you can be with anything you want to be. And we talk about that, and we drill that into their minds using hip hop music. This film right here, this is Meltrek episode 2, Exploring the Pre-Columbian Americas. And in this particular film, we talk about the Black and brown people who were in America prior to the arrival of Christopher Columbus. And we talk about the different cultures that were here in North America, the mound builders, the Adena Hopewell and the Mississippians. And then we take them into Mesoamerica, where they learn about the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs. And then we take them into South Africa, where they learn, I said South Africa, South America, where they learn about the Incas. And so I do want to salute the Nation of Islam, because when I took this to Muhammad Mosque Temple number 6 here in Baltimore, I mean, the brothers and sisters, I mean, everybody purchased it, you know. And so salute to not student minister Carlos Muhammad. I know that he has a new name and I can't think about it right now. Abdul Salam. That is his new. Yes, that's that. Yep. So I know he had a new name, but I couldn't catch it. But those brothers and sisters at the mosque, they support every time we go down there with Meltrek. The brothers and sisters at the mosque, support. And so, family, make sure that you check out Meltrek and get it for your babies. Okay. And so, again, this is just an example of what you were saying, student minister, how we can use hip hop music to empower, to teach, to heal. And so, I just wanted to give our family an example of that.
Thank you, my brother in the chat, for making us reawakening us to what Dr. Mayat and her staff have done. This is a great system of learning. And I'm going to suggest that I learned something when I first was new in the nation, that trying to understand the Bible, I was getting, Dr. Mayat, I was getting so so lost in the hither thou goeth and the whither thou cometh and the thus saith and the so and so that begets so and so. I'm like, I don't understand. So somebody told me, get a children's Bible and read the children's Bible. It'll put it in a language. And you know what I said? I said, well, since I didn't learn how to bust through all this poetic jargon at a young age, I really am, even though I am an adult, at that time I was still 16, even though I am 16, my mind for learning this knowledge probably is like I'm a child. So I'm saying that to say this, the same way that I was able to bust through the hither thou goeth and the whither thou cometh and the know of the sureties and the thus saiths and the begats with a children's Bible, we as adults, we've never been taught the rich legacy of our people. I don't care how studious you were in Black history class in elementary, junior high, or high school. Black history is nothing more than the accomplishments of a slave under their slave master. It's only from the plantation to the present and from the cotton field to the current. They never talk about what we were before we were kidnapped, westernized, and Caucasianized by this enemy. So if we don't know about Timbuktu and the city of Atlantis or the Nile Valley civilization. We don't know about Imhotep or Shaka Zulu or Queen Nefertiti. We don't know anything about them. The only thing we know about is what happened after slavery, or from slavery to now.
Right,
so
absolutely.
What happened whenever you start looking at your history from slavery to the present? You look back and say, man, we was in a mud hut wearing burlap, couldn't eat nothing but scrappings, and walking around with no shoes on. Look at me right now. I got on a fresh pair of Air Force Ones. I got on a Nike sweatsuit. I'm living inside of an apartment, and I get $8 an hour. Next thing you know, Dr. Maya, we start talking about we started from the bottom. Now we're here. No, real truth is you didn't start from the bottom and now you're here. You only think that because you only know about yourself from plantation to the present, cotton field to the current. But if you went back past that, you would know we started from the top.
Come on.
Now we way down here. We got a lot of work to get back to being that proud, pious, powerful, and productive people we once were. So I'm putting it out there like this. Even though we're not a child, we should get these videos as adults because our child brain in development of knowledge of self is that. Get them and let's watch them.
Absolutely.
Get them and let's study them. Get them and let's memorize them. And you'll be surprised how much pride that comes in you in the present by learning about the greatness of our people in the past. And there's certain things that true pride in self won't let you do. When you really are proud of you and you really love you because you know you feel too dignified to reach down for a drug or down for a drink or down for something foolish. Your mind is flying too high in wisdom and the knowledge of what your ancestors have done. And as you said, the chant in the song, they did it, so can we.
That's right. If they can, we can.
If they can, we can. So that mentality, and I'm challenging the sisters and the brothers, don't just get this for your children. Don't just get this if you have children. Our brains in the knowledge of self muscle course is so weak that it's on the level of children.
A child.
So we need to watch it as a grown-up, even though we think we're grown.
Absolutely, student minister. And I've gotten calls from parents around the world who said, I watched it with my child and I learned something. I didn't know this information. I enjoyed it more than my child, so you're right. Like parents are saying, hey, they saying I'm learning, right along with my child. And it's a beautiful thing, student minister, beautiful thing.
And they watch some children's programs, the white people children's programs, and learn stuff too.
Absolutely.
So why would you think you couldn't watch the Black children's program and learn something?
Absolutely,
So,
student minister.
I really appreciate you, Dr. Mayat, and your team for putting these together. And I'm gonna stock up on my set, and that's what I'm gonna start watching to help keep water in my soul.
Ashe. Ashe. I appreciate that, student minister. Thank you so much. And I want to move into the third bullet point, the third point. So I said I wanted to talk about anti-Semitism. I think I kind of threw that in there tonight, hip hop. And then I want to kind of close out just with Black manhood. So we talked about, what it looks like to be a buck broken person, right? Or broken buck,
Yeah.
right? But what does it mean? Let's get into Black manhood. I was actually having this conversations with one of my good male friends yesterday. We were talking about the interview, or Kanye's interview on Drink Champs, and then we started talking about Nori and him apologizing, and Nick Cannon apologizing, and you said earlier, and I said, oh, I got to take this from you. You said we should have the testicular fortitude. I just said, man, where's your kahunas? This is what I was saying on the phone with my buddy.
Same.
I was like, where's your, you said it nice though, student minister. You said, we should have the testicular, you said the testicular fortitude. I'm on the phone like, when I saw that he was apologizing and going on, I said, where are your kahunas? Where are your kahunas? Because when I think of Black manhood, and this is from a woman's perspective, right? I see a man who is someone who stands his ground. He stands on his square. He stands on truth, no matter what. He's not going to be shook and bullied into apologizing for his views and his opinions and his beliefs. And so I wanted to, and also we talked about Black men being builders. So when I think of a Black man, I think of also a builder, one who builds, one who protects, one who provides, one who creates, a safe space for himself, his women, and his children, and the elders. And so I said, well, you know what? Let me ask you, the minister, let's talk about, or let's close out on Black manhood, and how can we revive that in large numbers, because we need more. We need more. And so what is Black manhood? Could you describe that? What does that look like? And how can that be a thing in our community where we actually cultivate that, systematically cultivate that throughout our communities?
Well, it is a very, very good question, Dr. Mayat. If you look at the word manhood, like fatherhood, like motherhood, like brotherhood, notice the suffix attached to each one of them is hood.
That's right.
And hood, when you make it a proper noun, is a piece of fabric that's attached to the back of a shirt, jacket, or a coat that covers the head from the harmful elements of an environment. So what makes manhood? It is whenever a male has the hood, the requisite knowledge inside of his head that makes him a man. Before we were brought to America and made slaves, you could not go from girl to woman or boy to man just because you made 18 calendars or 18 trips around the sun.
Right, absolutely.
Or 21 trips around the sun. In order for you to be a boy, from boy to man, or girl to woman, you had to go through, in our system, in the motherland, you had to go through what's called a rites of passage.
That's right.
And there's three common things that you'll find among most of the tribes. They all had different methodologies to cross you from boy to man, girl to woman. But three things you'll see common. One, that they would make each young boy or girl perform what they call the act of valor, meaning you got to do something to show that you have courage. Because at the end of the day, no matter what attributes that you possess, if you don't have courage, none of the other attributes can properly be used. What good is it for you to have the attribute of knowledge if you're too scared to teach?
Come on.
What good is it to have the attribute of wealth if you're too scared to invest?
Come on.
What good is it for you to have the attribute of strength if you won't use it to protect the less fortunate?
Come on.
So courage is the great multiplier that all gifts, skills, and talents or attributes has to be married to in order for them to be executed and used properly. So the males would sometimes have to go out into the wild and hunt down a lion, kill the lion, bring it back. The females will sometimes have to cross hot burning coals for 15, 20 feet, 2,000 degrees, and make it all the way across. All of them would do it because they had aunties and mothers, and they had uncles and fathers that were men, were women now, which means that they were successful, so it can be done. Another thing they had to do, each graduating member of the rites of passage would always be given a twig that represented themselves and be asked by the Katanga or the trainer that was performing the rites of passage, see if you can break it. Each member, male or female, break it easy. Then they will hand them the twigs that represented the 30 or 40 that was in the rites of passage and hand them all 30 twigs and say, now try to break it. None would be able to. And the ancestors were giving us a lesson. What were they saying? When you're alone, you are easily broken by an outside force. But if you stand together in unity with your brothers and sisters, there's no outside force that will ever be able to break you. Then number 3, you cannot be called in our ancient system a man or a woman if you did not know, in theory, the role of a wife and a mother and the role of a husband and a father. So you had to be quizzed. So I would say, let's just keep it simple and bring manhood up to the present times. What do you need to have manhood? You have to have the requisite knowledge under the hood that makes you from male to man. What is it? You have to have courage. You have to represent and work for the good of the whole and believe in uniting at all costs. No individualism. No, I got to get mine. You got to get yours. That's a European concept. We never lived like that. We said each one reach one, each one teach one. It takes a village to raise a child.
That's right.
We always start as a whole. So you have to think as a whole to be a man. You have to have courage to be a man. And last but not least, you have to have the knowledge of what it means to be a father and what it means to be a husband long before you ever have a son or a daughter, long before you ever have a wife. And if we had that in manifest, just these 3, that would be a great foundation for what real manhood would look like in 2022.
Oh my goodness, student minister. People in the chat, they said teach. I want to show you some of these comments. I mean, because it was just, you would just look at this. So a lot of people are just like, man, they said, come on with the lesson, minister. So people
I didn't know what you were going to ask, but that to me, that means this is something that I hope and believe that God himself wants to be said, because I didn't have a preparation of an answer.
You sure didn't. I just said, hey, can you come on? And you're like, okay. And then I said, I want you to talk about hip hop. And then when I was creating the broadcast, I said, I want to talk more. I want to talk about more things, like not just hip hop, but anti-Semitism and Black manhood, because that's something, that it needs to be talked about. And you just broke it down beautifully. And I like how you talked about Black manhood and womanhood, and you drove home the fact that age doesn't make you a man or woman. It doesn't. And I've had conversations even with my sons about that. Your genitalia, it makes you female or male, right? So I know you're a male, I know you're a female, but it doesn't make you a man or a woman. It's thought, it's behavior, it's maturity, it's responsibility, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, it's understanding. All of these sorts of things, constitutes, Black manhood and womanhood. It's not just because, I tell them, you see this woman and you say, oh, she's beautiful, or you think she's a woman. Oh, look at her. And then this is a woman. And then you get you get involved with her and you find out that she has the mentality of a little girl. Right. And so you can't judge, manhood and womanhood based on puberty and say, oh,
Right.
because this woman went through puberty, this person went through puberty, this is a man, or this woman went through puberty, this female went through puberty, this is a woman, right? Our ancestors tested that. It's
Yeah,
manhood and
right.
womanhood. It's a title. So when you're called a man and you're called a woman, it's a title, and it's a title that you earn. It's a
That's
title
right.
that's bestowed on you by the community. So anyway, I just love that
Good
whole
teaching.
breakdown.
Just a footnote to just add to what you're saying. Even though you might have the muscles of a man and you might have the form of a developed woman, stupidity
Come on.
can make pretty ugly and make handsome busted.
Come on.
Cowardice can make manhood less attractive because it doesn't exist. And if you don't have control of your emotions, see, when you deal with an ignorant, emotional, scared to death man, male or female, I don't care how good they used to look. The minute that a pretty woman or a handsome man opens their mouth and you hear emotionalism, temper, anger, stupidity, or fear, they immediately start losing their beauty in your physical eye right in front of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, student minister. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. I was
So
actually
we
just
got to
having
work
this
on it. We
conversation.
got to work on it. We get don't y'all be don't try to get a new behind. Try to get a new mind.
Come on. Say that one more time, student minister. Don't
Do
try to
not
get a
try to
what?
get a new behind. Try to get you a new mind.
Try to get you a new mind.
And you'll
Ashe.
find, sisters, that women that use their body as leverage to attract a man is because they have not properly invested in their own mind.
That's right.
When you
That's
invest
right.
in your mind and your character and the development of your virtue and personality, then you don't have to display your physical adornments. Your spiritual adornments are so bright that they are enough to make the right man want to be with you. And likewise, brothers, it does no good to do all them presses for a chest muscle, all them curls for the bicep muscle, all them squats for the quads, and don't lift some books for your brain.
Come on.
This brain muscle is the most important muscle you can ever work. So don't focus so much on the form, focus more on the function of the mind. That's what makes a man, and that's what makes a woman. So we got a lot of work to do. I do have my latest book, Dr. Mayat, is called A Well-Made Man.
A
And it
well-made
just
man.
was released about 9 weeks ago. And we secured the #1 new release slot for a week and a half on Amazon. And that takes a lot to be able to do that. So if you can, brothers, if you want something that can help you to start working out the cultivation of under the hood, that you can become that well-made man, check it out. It's at NuriMuhammad.com. I also have Black Woman Second Self of God. There we go. I see it on there. It is on Amazon. And we have a total of 6 books that will do good for you to help you in this process of manhood development and womanhood development. It would be good if we just grew up with a masculine, true divine masculine figure in a home called a father, and he could just rub off on us and we can observe him doing it this way and tell us all the right things. But realistically, that's not happened. So don't wait on it to happen. Go to work on building yourself. Go to work on building your mind. You are not a mind or body with a mind in it. You really are a mind with a body wrapped around it. Let's build that. That's where manhood starts and really stops, because it is the execute center for everything else that men do.
And student minister, it's you didn't even know that I wanted to talk about black manhood today. You, like you said, I remember Baba Anthony T. Browder. He said nothing happens by chance in a universe that's ruled by divine law and order. Nothing happens. And so I'm sitting here thinking like how this totally this discussion totally is in alignment with the things, you know, that you're doing, in alignment with the things that I'm doing. So family, I have it on the screen. Get it now. I dropped the link in the chat. Go to norimuhammad.com, okay, to get a well-made man. Student minister, let me ask you this. Do you think can women read this? And because I know, like with Visions for Black Men, Manhood in Black and White, African Manhood in the 21st Century, I've read all of those and had conversations with my boys about that. And also, there's a fraternity at Morgan State University that I've been working with, and giving those brothers some literature. And so, is this something that I'm definitely going to give this to the fraternity, but is this something that a woman can sit down, read, and benefit from, and share these lessons with her son? What are your thoughts about that? Is this a good read for women as well?
Hey, absolutely. I would say that when we look at the statistics, because we get a chance to see male versus female purchases, just as many women have purchased the book as men. And this is what I learned from my teacher about picking a good mate. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this. He said that a good mate will bring out the best in you and make you more youthful, while the wrong mate will bring out the worst in you and cause you to age prematurely. Look at this science. He said, how do you know if the one that you're looking at is compatible with you? He said that they should match up to 70% of what you're looking for in an ideal man as a woman or ideal woman as a man. Now, problem though, see, when we start making our list of what an ideal man or ideal woman is, without guidance, we will have the stupid, superficial, and the physical at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
And the most significant, which is the spiritual, personality, and the mental, down the bottom. So if you're making your list and your list says that my ideal man is 6'1", dark skin, bald head, if that's at the top of your list, you need to renegotiate your contract.
Come on.
Brothers, if at the top of your list that she got to be a certain thick, a certain height, a certain if that's at the top of your list, then you need to renegotiate your contract. So this book, Well-Made Man, for the female, number one, there's no role that a woman will ever have in life, I don't care what profession that you're in, that trumps mother.
Come on.
Mother is the greatest assignment from God that could ever be given to a human being.
Well, student minister, when I said that years ago, women threw tomatoes at me. What do you mean? What do you mean it's the greatest role? I got tomatoes thrown at me, student minister, when I said that. Break it down for me, student minister.
Well, of course. Well, see, when you do the math on anything that you do in life, the greatest, listen to these words from the wisest man of Scripture, Solomon. He said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Come on.
So if as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The greatest thing in creation is man. The greatest thing in man is mind. Train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they grow old, they will not depart from you.
That's right.
So the cultivation of the mind properly only can take place with a child from the womb while they're growing. Well, that means that mother is look at this, the co-creator with the supreme being. Why do you think that whenever a baby cries from the womb, they don't ask for Jesus? Baby's not asking for Moses. The baby don't want a lawyer. The baby don't need the doctor. The doctor already birthed him. The baby's not looking for an entrepreneur. the baby looking for mama.
That's right. That's right.
And mama, the minister said this, mama is God in baby language.
Mm.
So you're the first nurse, the first teacher. Technically, you're the first messenger and representative of God that the child comes in contact with.
Ashe.
So you can be all the things that you want to be in society, but it has to be in addition to the divine assignment that you've been given from the Lord of the worlds. It says in the scripture that God created you in the wombs of your mothers. Jeremiah says it in the Bible, I knew you before you were in the wombs of your mother, and I formed you in your mother's womb. So if the God used the mother as the laboratory of his own to bring birth to the son or the daughter, and then turns that son or daughter over to the charge of this female called mother, don't you think that there should be more time and energy put into what God gave you as an assignment than a career you chose for yourself? So you can be all those things that you like to be in your career, but never should it be forsaking the divine assignment that God gave you for the choice you made for your own career. Mother is first.
That's right.
So as a woman, when you start making that list, this book, Well-Made Man, I learned from the minister about 27 different key characteristics of manhood and what an ideal man looks like. So it's explained in the book. So if you're a sister reading this book, what you can do, here I got my boy, I'm training him to be a well-made man before he even is a man. Now he has inside of his mind all the psychological and spiritual raw material to perform as soon as he reaches the size and the age and maturity. I've already installed in him on his hard drive all the data he needs to be successful in life because I'm teaching him what I learned. Then number two, when you start making your list of what an ideal man looks like, it'd be good if you put on the top of the list those characteristics that God himself says a man is, and then start picking your own personality, unique things that you want out of someone that you call special. So that's the math. So it's good for both to be able to do both. The man to look at and to see a mirror on what he should work on. The woman to look at to know how to make her boy into a man and give him the spiritual and psychological material of being a well-made man even before he reaches maturity, and to help you, sister, make that list.
That's right.
What you should be looking for in a man that's going to maintain, protect, and provide, that's going to spoil you for no reason at all, that's going to love you, that's going to be loyal to you and to you alone, that's going to be kind, considerate, have a sense of humor. All those things you're really looking for comes whenever you have a well-made man.
Had to drop the ball.
Fire!
I just had to look. Wait, you had pause a little bit. I was like, maybe I could drop it right now, and then you kept going. I said, all right, I gotta take it back. Let me when he finished, because that was just woo. So, student minister, I know that I asked you to come on for about an hour, and we're like almost 10 minutes past. And so, do you have? First of all, I want to thank you again. I thanked you at the beginning for taking time out of your busy schedule. For those of you who are just coming on, literally, I called him like 2 days ago, and I was like, can you come on? Because I saw this stuff happening. And I just wanted to get some solid information out to the people regarding all of the stuff that we're seeing all over social media. So I reached out to him. So I said, can you come on today or tomorrow? And he said, I can't come on today, but I can come on tomorrow. So I think was it yesterday? Because you said you could come on.
Yeah, I would have come on yesterday, but I did have another engagement at 8. So I knew I couldn't do it. But I'm here, and I always be here for you, because I value you and appreciate you for all you do for us. Anytime that I can come and share space and time with you and hopefully add any value to the viewers and listeners that you've magnetized, I count it as a great, great honor to do so.
And likewise, student minister. So I just wanted to thank you for just coming on, because like I said, I was telling the audience earlier, I know you're pulled in so many different directions. You're everywhere. Then you're traveling, you're writing books, you're teaching, you also have a family. You're full-time husband, full-time dad, and so you have your family on top of that. And so that's why I just value anytime when you all come on my platform, the guests come on. I thank you all, because you could be doing something else with your time, and with your energy. And so I thank you for your time, your energy, and your wisdom, student minister. Do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
I just would say, let's continue to, as she asked you to do, like, share, subscribe, and always feed your mind as much as you can on the truth, so that we can act according to that truth. And I say to those that are in the viewing audience that if you like anything that I had to say, you're going to love everything my teacher has to say. So tune in and tune up to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and get all the wisdom that you possibly can get. Because what you heard today was my memory of small inklings of wisdom I learned from him. But your mind can get more for yourself by plugging directly in to the source. So I thank you all so much, and I look forward to being back again, hopefully in the very, very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to think of a night. I may just say, just come back and let's just focus on your book. So I'm going to purchase the book, read it, reach out to you, and then we coordinate a time where you come back, you talk about your book, and I'll purchase maybe like 20 or 30 of them and give them out to the listening audience. And we we don't have to give it all away, but we kind of just talk about, the book and the different, aspects of the book. And so thank you so much, student minister, for coming on tonight. Thank you so much. And so, family, I'm going to drop the link. I already dropped the link in the chat. And so I'm going to let student minister Nori Muhammad go, but I want to bring you all in for any comments, anything you want to talk about regarding this whole Kanye, Nori, anti-Semitic stuff. So I dropped the link in the chat, family. Make sure that you click on the link and come on in. Student minister, thank you so much for coming on. Peace and Black power.
Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classics. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.
All right, family. So I dropped the link in the chat. Come on in. Come on in. I know you all wanted to make some comments. Well, I know some people you were going, you going in. Uh-oh, family. We got 104,000 people in the building. It's really 104, but I got to blow it up. 104,000 people in the building. Shout out to this brother right here, family. This brother right here. I see you, King Simon, in the building. This brother right here on the screen. This is brother Nasir Randall. This is a Morgan State University student. I want you all to welcome him here, because this is a young brother that could be anywhere else on a Friday night, but he was here soaking up this good knowledge, and he said he wanted a copy of the book. So Nasir, I'm going to buy 2 copies, brother, and I'm going to make sure I bring, when it arrives, I'll bring one to school for you, okay? So that you have one, okay? So I'll go ahead and purchase it for you and gift it to you, okay? But salute to this young brother, Nasir Randall. He's one of my engineering students, and he's been tuning in, family. He attends the Read Book Club sessions on Sunday, and he's tuning in now to the Truth to Power talks. And so salute to this young warrior. All right, so please welcome him in the chat. Like I said, he's a young warrior, 20 years old. And I know on a Friday night at 20, I wasn't at listening to any type of, well, we didn't have the internet, but I wasn't listening to lectures at 20, on a Friday night. We were at the clubs, okay? And so salute to this young warrior, all right, that is in the building. Salute to this young warrior in the building. All right, family, so I dropped the link in the chat. Come on in. Let's build. If you want to drop a comment on, anti-Semitism and hip hop and Black manhood. We talked about all of that stuff tonight. King Simon, click the link, warrior. Come on in. Come on in, family, and say a few words. We were talking about that whole Kanye West and Noriega situation. Noriega's going on a apology tour right now, which is sad. I was a bit angered when I was, seeing these videos pop up on my feed of him apologizing for, things that he didn't even say out of his mouth. And I was just like, man, as I told student minister Nori Muhammad, I was like, man, where's your kahunas, man? I understand that you had Kanye on and he may have said some things you didn't agree with, but that's your disclaimer that you have at the beginning of the video. You put up a disclaimer. So what are you apologizing for? I got Jewish friends. I love Jewish people. I said, oh my God, here we go. Here we go. And so anyway, family, click the link. Come on in. Let's have a conversation really quickly before I log out. So let me put the link. I keep saying click. Let me put the link back in the chat, family. Come on in. Come on in. Let's talk about it. I know you see what's been going on. It's brokenness. I'm telling you, man. When you sitting there apologizing for stuff you didn't say out your mouth, I was embarrassed for the brother. I got Jewish friends. I got Jewish, man. It was Jewish people there when he had the interview, so they could tell us that we was going too far. I said, oh my gosh, I don't want to hurt nobody. I said, oh my goodness, man. What I heard when I watched the I think the Breakfast Club, he had came on there and talked to Charlemagne and Angela Yee and what's the other brother name? Envy talked to them about Kanye, and he was apologizing. I was just like, man, it's bananas. King Simon, peace and love, King Simon. How are you? How are you, King? I was hoping you clicked the link. That's why I said click the link, King Simon. Come on in. You never come in. Come on in, King Simon. Well, King
What's up? How you? They put on my blue blocker so I can block this energy from this computer.
I can dig it. I need to find mine. I was wearing them, and I need to keep them right here by my computer. But King Simon, how do you feel about all this stuff, all this madness that we've been seeing, this past week with, Kanye, the banks, the Twitter, IG shutting them out. Then you got Nori apologizing. I mean, what are your thoughts, King Simon, on all of this stuff happening?
First of all, I want to say big up to Nori. I got a few of his books here too. So big up to my brother Nori. He's been on my show numerous times, and him and Wesley, boy, they are something else. They doing what they got to do, and that's what I love. And thank you for allowing me to come on. First of all, big up to the whole family and your whole chat. I wasn't surprised.
I wasn't surprised either.
And because I study the numbers, it already let me know what it is. And I'm like, okay, this is the pattern. I even broke down Nori being born at a certain frequency. And because he's born on the six are healers, and they want to find balance and truth and everything. And they really just like to enjoy good people around them. So I knew he was definitely going to come out and do the dance, because he just wants, like he said, this is drink champs, not think champs. He did say that. People forget that. But Kanye, volatile energy all the time, man. He's always been like that. I can respect some of the stuff he said and some of the stuff that he thrown off. I had no problems with a lot of the stuff he said, because we know from me being in the nation, active member of the nation back in the day, I understood that what he was saying. And of course, studying the books like you have, you just bought the Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. I've had all of those volumes for years, and I still have. So it's not a surprise. People want to maintain their bag, so to speak. And
that's what it's about. Yeah, that's what I saw. Like you said, he was like, man, I don't want to lose my bag. So let me go ahead. And like you said, let me do the dance. Let me do the dance. But King Simon, I'm tired of our brothers and sisters having to do the dance. When you build your own and you control your own, you don't have to dance for anybody, right? And so it's you get what I'm saying, King Simon. So a lot of us are people like, well, what would you do, Dr. Ma'at? You would try if you had a family and you had man, we got to get to the point where we are unapologetic about our views, our opinions and our beliefs. We got to get to that point. But the only way we can get to that point is when we start building and owning and controlling our own stuff. Right. And so if he wouldn't have to do the dance if he had his own platform. And what I was really hoping, King Simon, was this. Kanye West gets kicked off of IG, right? IG in Twitter, right? He gets kicked off of there. So why not say, well, you know what, guys? I'm kicked off of IG and Twitter. Forget it. I'm going to go over here to this Black owned and operated platform fan base, right? And this is where you can find Kanye West. I'm going to be over here and drive traffic to this Black owned and operated social media space called fan base. I think it was started by Isaac Hayes'
son.
Yeah. So why not use your celebrity? You get what I'm saying, and say, I'm going over here.
Right. What's funny? What's funny? You remember Prince back in the day?
Yes.
Prince galvanized 1 million followers. Prince galvanized 1 million followers on Facebook and then sent everybody to his website.
That's how you do it, King Simon.
Prince is a Gemini, just like Kanye. And Prince, he's matter of fact born a day before Kanye. He's born on 7th. Kanye born on the 8th. That's all he has to do. That's all he said. You know what? Everybody go to KanyeWest.com, YayWest.com. And that's where you're going to get all the reports. I have my own server. I got all that going on. Boom, 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 bap. I'm good.
King Simon, and that's exactly later for all of that. And I was on the phone with, like I said, one of my good male friends, and he'll tell you if he's watching. He probably won't say anything in the chat, but we were going back and forth last night because I was looking at these interviews, and I said, when are we going to get tired of that? When are we going to get tired of being fetchers? Is it fetchers of water and hewers of wood? Did I say it right, King Simon?
Yeah, that sounds like it. That sounds like I haven't heard that in a long
time. Something like that. Fetchers of water, hewers of wood. But when are we going to get tired of being that for other groups of people? I heard Kanye on Drink Champs. He's talking about the Jews, man. The Jews control everything, man. They control this. They control the media. They control the books. They control the industry. And I'm sitting here saying, complain. Instead of them owning and controlling, right? We do have a choice, right? He said it out his own mouth. We do have a choice. So you didn't have to go do business with them, did you? Once you amass your fame or your celebrity, you could have then said, well, I'm going to build my own platform and distribute my products on my own. And that's what Sway was trying to tell Kanye some years ago. And what did Kanye say? You ain't got the answer, Sway. Because Sway was like, man, you build your own, do your own thing. And he told Sway back then, you don't have the answers. But fast forward 10 years later, now you're on Drink Champs crying about the Jews owning everything. So let me say one more, and I'm going to pass the mic to this beautiful sister, Gabe, who's in the building. But King Simon, I just want to say one more thing. The guy, Vlad TV, Vlad amassed fame and fortune because you had Black men running over there, sitting on his couch. Exactly. And not only did he get the fame and the fortune from you off the backs of Black men, he started incriminating, like they incriminated themselves by sitting there talking to him, but he was asking them like incriminating questions to the point where the DEA started using these Vlad's videos in the court of law to convict these brothers. And then they turn around, look at what they want to point to him, but we have to start looking at ourselves, King Simon.
You know what's so interesting, back in the FOI class when in the 90s, when I was when Dr. Khalid Muhammad, Minister Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was there under that, he taught us in the FOI class about the concentric circle. Concentric circle looked like the Indinkra circle with that dot in the middle, one out up, that symbol of love. That's how it looks. And he says each one of those symbols represent a part of your government. Now, people like Kanye is supposed to stay behind the scene in a certain part of that circle and send the diplomats or the people that know how to speak and articulate what he was trying to say better. Then you have what you like Dr. Khalid would say, saints, saviors, soldiers, scholars, healers, and killers. Killers are always in the background waiting, but you got your saints, the ones that gotta put up the whole look, the nice, the look. You got your saviors that gotta make sure everybody's all right. You got your healers that gotta make sure people are feeling good. You got your soldiers that's right there in the wing, blocking and protecting. You got your killers waiting right in the wing, like, okay, if you do this, this is what we gonna do. That is what we learned in the Nation of Islam, which I know they're still teaching it, but I'm just letting it out there because that the younger brothers and sisters out there that are doing the quote unquote hip hop music don't have a real protocol anymore. When they was under teaching the even when Ice Cube say, "Yo, get that anti-Semitic thing out putting it on my name." Ice Cube used to be with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. People forget. And that's when Khalid had went out against Ice Cube and say, yo, Ice Cube is starting to melt a little. But he's trying to save his bag too. But I'm saying Kanye mentioned his name and he told him not to mention his name in that.
I was King Simon. Oh my goodness. He said, yeah, I called Ice Cube on the phone. I said, oh,
don't you call Ice Cube.
Oh my gosh.
You're trying to secure a basketball league of 3 people.
Right.
Don't you call Ice Cube?
Don't put that in Ice Cube. Like, yo, how did I get in? Why are you on there blabbering that we had shut up? I was looking at Drink Champs, King Simon. I was in the back like, shut up.
They're not studying. They're not studying the spook who sat by the door. They're not studying those type of movies like we studied back in the day. And there's no protocol. So everybody is doing everything. Everybody doing what they want instead of having. And then at the end of the program, on Drink Champs, he playing Minister Farrakhan's voice about Yaqub and what's going on. He played the voice.
See, I only watched 1 hour. I was going to watch the second hour today
because
I couldn't watch it in 3. I couldn't stomach it for 3 hours. So I watched 1 hour.
He played a voicemail of Minister calling Kanye. He left a voicemail on Kanye and played the voicemail of Minister Farrakhan.
Can I say something?
Go ahead,
please, Queen. Go ahead,
Hi,
Queen.
guys.
Peace and love, Queen.
Hi, how y'all doing? I was listening up on Facebook, so I just thought I'd just jump in because I just have, a few things to say and lay out some points. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Please, go ahead, please.
So, if you look at it, the record companies, like everybody is talking about, we should have had our own. Black people discovered it, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing about it, music and hip hop started decades ago, and it was never about financial literacy when they started. Jay-Z said something before. He was like, they were just trying to get out there, express their dreams, follow their dreams, and money came along the way. So who was there to teach them about getting money, the finances? So you have these group of people who had money already, putting it into industry, just wheeling them in. And Ice Cube said it in the movie Compton. Remember when he went to the Jewish guy? He's like, "Where's my money?" Mm-hmm. That's what we were saying. So it's like they weren't had any financial literacy about them to even know, like, okay, this is how much money I should be making. My contracts. Oh my God, some people were locked into contracts that they didn't even know they were signing. Mm-hmm. Just because decades ago, like, who was really reading contracts? Like, we had a housing market that crashed because people weren't reading contracts and the fine prints. So yeah, they did own the music industry. It's changing now because people have a voice, and actually, like, the old time people laid the foundation for the new upcoming rappers, like, okay, go over your contract. Like, it's virtual signaling, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get tied into something that you cannot get out of, or you're not making money because you're doing all the work. That's how young artists are looking at it now. Like, we're doing all the work, so I want most of the money.
That's right.
That's the first thing, because now it's like all about money now. Like, back in the day, they weren't thinking about money. It's just like getting out there, letting people know we are here, like, fight the power, Black music, empowering Black people. And finances came behind that, but they were like bamboozled big time from Jewish folks. Let's be real. Most of them own the industry. How is it so crazy that when we talk about things like this, it's always anti-Semitic? Like, how am I telling you the experiences Like, I live in Charleston, South Carolina, y'all. Like, this state is deep red, and Jewish people own it. Period. The land mask. You know what I mean? They own stores. We have a whole like Jewish. We have so many synagogues here.
Mm.
My mom best friend was a Jewish. She named my oldest sister Tova. Like, my mom was tied into Jewish people, so I know how it goes.
Right.
They do the least and get the most. And it's
Mm.
not only for them, it's for their community. It doesn't come outside the community. It stays in their community. They shop with each other, they buy with each other, but they also are tight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When Black folks do work for them, because my mom used to do a lot of catering back in the day, going through contracts, they don't want to pay. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, if I'm worth this much, they want to give you half of what you're worth. So I
Mm.
know that, and it's like, it's universal. We're not just talking about Chicago, LA. It's universal. They have their own language when it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to money.
Mm-hmm.
My other statement that I wanted to make is about Kanye. I don't feel like Kanye likes Black people. Like, me being a Black woman, I don't think that, because he's sitting this white woman on a pedestal who
Come
had
on,
kids
come on, come
that,
on. Let's talk
come on
about it.
now,
Come on.
nobody is talking about it. He is putting this woman on a pedestal who
Yes, he
has a
does.
sex tape, who's been with all these other men. Like, Kanye, you can find no Black woman to build your family with. You went to I wouldn't want to call her trash, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. The
Come on,
trash of
sister.
the
Go ahead,
trash.
sister. Speak your speech. Hold on. What we about?
What's so funny? Today is her birthday.
You said today is who,
But
Kim's
come
birthday?
Yep, today's
on.
Kim's birthday.
Speak your
She
speech.
used him at every level,
Speak
then
your
divorced
speech.
him.
Speak your speech.
She used him at
Speak your
every
speech.
level and then divorced him. And he's crying over this woman. And I'm just like, Kanye, what is going on with you? Are you going crazy?
Right,
He
right,
puts her on a pedestal like, no, like, why are we doing this?
right.
Why are we doing this? If you see what came out of the Kardashians, what they call them, I
Yeah,
don't
y'all
know.
car trashians. You better speak. You better
The
where's my
trash.
Umar Johnson? Where's my
But
Umar
truth
Johnson?
be told, like, truth
Speak
be
your
told,
speech.
and then he's
Speak
walking
your
around with,
speech.
other white women. Like, what?
Yeah.
You told us, this is how it was explained to me, because I watched the video and I was like, I'm losing the train of thought here, but there's like, brilliance, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, like, we can understand if you just speak to us regular. Like, you don't have to go into this mode as in, oh, I'm intelligent. Oh, I am just perfect. Oh, what do they call him? A genius? So,
No.
okay, with the White Lives Matter, y'all, come on. I wore it. My wife is white. You made that choice, brother. Like,
Come on.
That's
none
what he
of
said.
us. And then you want to sit there and say we didn't come to your defense when she's dragging you through the mud and doing all this and that to you. You see what I'm saying? Dating
Right,
another
right.
man while you're
Right. You
still married to her.
come on. Come on, sister. You look, no, look, like, I'm over here. Like, if I could high five you through the screen, I would. Because you're right. You go out here and marry a white woman, and then you want the Black woman to put on the cape and come save you. But
Right.
you made a conscientious decision to go marry white, and that's when he married white. That's when I already knew what his mindset was.
He
Because
does not.
we
And
marry what we value. And when he married a white woman, I said, oh, he values whiteness. You
Right.
know,
exactly.
That's right.
But overall, if you look at the situation, after him and Kim broke up, he's
Mhm.
just like parading around with white women. Like, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's just like, I think he does not like the Black community because he feels like he doesn't fit in. Like, we're all different. You know what I mean? Like, you have to find your people. All of us are people. I always tell my kids, I have two girls, and I always let them know, one is 14 and one is 8. I always let them know that Black people are in sync. Anywhere you go, Black people are in sync. I
Mm.
said, love on your brothers, love on your sisters, no matter what they may say about us. Like, we all don't live a life of trash and crime and just being loose. We do not. So we're all a people, but if we're not educated to where we need to be and to like speak life into each other, like Kanye, you're not speaking life into your people. All you're
Mm.
saying is, well, you should do this, you should do that. Well, tell us, let us know, educate us how you become who you are and we can follow in your footsteps. No, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to bring up the killing in Chicago, which I think is horrible. But look, I don't see nobody on the streets out there protecting these babies. I don't
Come
see
on.
celebrities going out there like, hey, don't shoot a kid, shoot me. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't see them coming together. Like in Charleston, we have a bunch of crime here, but there are groups here. They walk the streets, and when
Same
they
here in
walk the
Baltimore.
streets,
Same here in Baltimore.
they walk the streets. And when they walk the streets, and I mean, these are elders too. These
Mm.
people don't have big names. You don't see them on the news, but they're making our communities safer for people who live in these communities. No violence happens when these people are walking the street every single day.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's like they're trying to they're pushing a movement behind what's going on because something has switched. I don't know if anybody's been watching, but I feel like this is the gremlin era. They pushed us drugs, and I always tell people like drugs were pushed through the 80s and 90s, and look
Mhm.
what it's created. They have created crack babies, crack kids, period.
Mm. Mm.
They've
Wow.
lost their mind. They've lost their mind. There's no control. There's no respect. And Kanye acting like this, what does he think that does? Does it help our community or it just tears it down? Because look, I can say and I can do whatever I want to do. And I understand free speech, right? Free speech is awesome. Free speech is wonderful. I get it. But sometimes you have to think about what you're saying and how it comes out. You can say something and harm someone, and you can say something harmful and not harm someone. You understand what I'm saying? It's the way that it comes out, not to offend, not to hurt, but we actually have to sit back and think about it. Like, I always use the term like, yeah, tell them off respectfully. They don't have to know that you're angry, mean, and mad. Tell them off respectfully so they can have an understanding as well, not just protruding something on someone aggressively. Like, we don't have to be aggressive in our actions or how we deliver the message. Who cares about the messenger as long as you get the message,
That's right. If you
But
get the
how we
message.
receive it, I think, is the bigger picture. You see what I'm saying? Like, the one thing, and I'm not an Obama fan, the one thing that Obama taught me is you can be an intellect and still give it to somebody raw with them being like, did he just tell me off in a nice way? Really? If you listen to Obama and he goes off on someone, it's not mean, it's not rude, but you'll like get checked for a second, like, oh, he just said that, but he wasn't being mean about it. But he just said, go screw myself. But he didn't tell me go screw myself. You feel
Right.
what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
that's the takeaway. Like, we have to understand how to think first and then put it out there.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that's possible. That's possible through
It absolutely
education.
is. It absolutely is. But hold up, I gotta
Drop the bomb, baby. Drop the bomb, baby.
thank you so much, Queen, for coming in and sharing your thoughts. I'm gonna bring in our young warrior, African in Detroit. This is a young brother, young warrior. Peace and love to you, brother. And after this, Moses, Kufu, you in the building, family. So go ahead, brother African in Detroit. You have the floor.
How you doing, family?
Peace and love to you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm kind of late into the convo. I got in when y'all was already at 48 minutes. But I wanted to speak on this because if we know our history, we will even find that if we know the West India Company that shipped us over here was founded by who? If people know that history, it's the same bankers that we talking about.
Mhm,
So
Okay.
mhm,
that
mhm.
this is all so integral, like this all so interconnected. People don't even know that although they were discriminated here, they own slaves too here. People don't
Fact.
know that. And
In
they
fact.
still own the bake systems here and across the world. And a lot of things people don't know. Like if you don't know your history, you won't even know that this hasn't just been today that they've been controlling things, media. They learned it just like other minority groups. They came in, they learned from us. Booker T. Washington is on the Anti-Defamation League list because he talks about it in his Atlanta address about
Mm,
telling the southern white people that you should and black people to throw your buckets where they are because instead of telling the white people to trust us instead of the white people from Europe, the Eastern European, the Jewish people. And what did they do? Even back then, they trusted the other white people,
mm.
We
and
want
that's
our coins. We want reparations, baby.
and so all of this. I just wanted to say all of this connected to the convo, but yeah,
No,
that's all I
absolutely.
want to say,
No,
sister.
so absolutely no. I just and young warrior, what I was sitting here thinking when you were talking is, you know how they say, the older folks say, when you know better, you do better. And so, like when you started your your sentence, you said, well, golly, if you just will only know the history, and not only just know the history, but learn from the history and strategize, right? Like, so know the history, yes, but then use the history as a tool to make better decisions. Like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you know the history, but that lies between us and them, why are you taking your talents over there? Why are you taking your business over there? Why are you taking your money over there? So not only do should we know the history, but let's know the history and then use it as a tool to better navigate this society. So anyway, young warrior, did you want to add on? Is it something else
Uh,
you wanted to add on, brother?
Actually, just to what you just said, knowing the history is so important. I started listening to honestly earlier this year. I wanted to give thanks to you because I started listening to you more, on Wale and other people because I was listening to videos of Dr. John Henry Clark and other people, Amos Wilson, over and over, getting their books that they recommend, stuff like that,
Yes,
up from
yes.
slavery. And so what it happened was that I started piecing together history that although I thought I was already Afrocentric, already knowing things, and I knew history more than my peers at my age, and I knew I could run the whole track around them. But I started noticing that everything I knew was episodic. Everything I knew was only in like parts. I only knew half of the story. I only knew some of it. I only knew from their perspective, not ours. And so I started learning from the older scholars and our elders. They tell us our perspective that is not just one thing. Like, how can do you talk about America without talking about the natives or blacks?
Mm.
It's
Can
not
I
one
say
perspective.
something?
So
Please
yeah,
do,
yeah.
sister.
White proximity. White proximity. You said, why did they take it over there and do it with them? White proximity.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, it's like they don't value black people enough. That's what I think. Like, black people don't value themselves enough because it's like, it's shaking over there.
The white
It's
man's
lit
ice is
over
colder.
there.
Yeah, the white man's ice is colder. Literally, sister, when I was so I'm the chair of the historical village at a festival that we have every year, maybe like a week or two after Labor Day. There's a festival here in Baltimore. It's called the Baltimore County African American Cultural Festival. And each year it's a brother who comes. His name is Brother Ray. I forgot his last name, but he comes with a display of the Negro Baseball League. And so he sets up like six tables and he has all of these pictures and just different objects, right, from the Negro Baseball League.
Hmm.
So when I saw his display, I almost cried when I saw all of those black players, the black owners, read the stories of how some black women would come there with their food and sell their food there, how the players would come in town, and since they couldn't stay, since the hotels were segregated,
Yeah.
stay at either a black hotel if there was one, or they would stay with families in the area. And so we kept everything within the black community. The money, everything was in the black community. But guess what? When they integrated baseball with Jackie Robinson, there goes the Negro Baseball League. We were so happy that one of us made it. Oh, they made it. That's making it to us. Oh, he made it to the big leagues, man.
Yeah.
He over there with them. And so then all of the Negro Baseball League was gone because the white man's ice is colder. I'm thinking of a beach. There was a beach in Baltimore, or a beach in Maryland called Car Beach. There was a brother, a brother who purchased some acres of land and they turned it into a beach. And I believe that he gave the land like to his daughters or something, and they turned it into a beach. And this was back then when it was segregated. So it was the Black Beach, right, in
Right.
Maryland.
I
And
heard
so
about that.
yeah, Car Beach. And so the sisters, it was a group of sisters, the daughters of this brother who created this beach. They ran the beach, and they would bring in different acts, Billie Holiday, different people. James Brown would come in and perform. And guess what? Soon as they integrated the beaches, Black folks left Car Beach and said, you know what? The white man's ice is colder. And so literally we abandon our stuff, like you said, sister, because of we want that close proximity to whiteness because that is what we value. African in Detroit. Did you have any closing words, brother?
Uh, just last thing. I think Dr. Ma, this would be a excellent thing for the rest of the for our people to do some research on is the Dr. Amos Wilson talk about the Skinner and experiment. It's about the experiment about the rat and the
It's called
subject.
Skinner. It's called Skinner Rat, brother. Skinner
Okay,
Rat.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know the correct name.
No, yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
right though. I know you're talking about the Skinner Rat. Mm-hmm.
But basically, what they will help people understand what happens under oppression. What happens when you under domination? What does that make you
Okay.
do? How does that make you react? And so it would make us people understand more about why we act our other people act in a certain way for them to come to a more clear understanding. I feel like of why this like cognitive dissonance, like what y'all talk about him wanting to be near white people is because he feels we already defeated. A lot of black people think we defeated. Like they
Mm-hmm.
think that we got defeated in history and we just
On
that the war
point.
was over, but the war is continuing. Is all I had to say.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And going back to the Skinner Rat, Dr. Amos Wilson talked about that in his book, The Falsification of African Consciousness, which is one of my favorite books. But he talks about that. And he, like you said, brother, he was talking about the Skinner Rat, and he was using that experiment to describe how our behavior is manipulated through rewards and punishments. And
Mhm.
so that's what we're seeing now with these punishments coming, with JP Morgan and Chase taking away, saying, hey, take your $140 million out of my account. IG and Twitter are getting them off the platform and banning them. These are punishments. And so we modify our behavior based on rewards and punishments. So when you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to ban you from social media. We're going to close your bank account. But when you do what we want you to do, we're going to reward you with fame. We're going to reward you with riches, material riches, when you do what we want you to do. And so anyway, young brother, thank you so much for coming
And can
on.
I just say one more thing before I leave, right?
Mhm.
If Kanye had black people interests at heart, when he called out to the black community, we would have gotten off Twitter. We would have shut down all our bank accounts just in favor to stand in solidarity with Kanye. But we didn't because we feel like a lot of people feel like me that Kanye does not like black people. So the same way he said it for Bush, I'm saying it for him.
Woo!
I think he's.
Woo!
I think
Now
he's.
go cry to the Kardashians for
I,
that one, okay?
You said they
I
called
think.
trashians
I
earlier.
think.
Trashians.
That too.
I
Y'all,
think
I
he's.
love you guys
We love
and
you
y'all
too,
have a
Queen.
wonderful night and thank you so much for having me on.
We love you
Thank
too, Queen. You take it easy. Tutmosis,
Peace.
close us out. We're going to get
Okay.
off of this in 12 minutes. So close us out, Tutmosis, cool fool, with your thoughts and your opinions, brother.
Okay, peace and love, Dr. Mod. Peace and
Peace
love.
and love to you. Peace and love to you, warrior.
I just wanted to add on to the bill about Kanye West. I think in certain instances he was highly wrong, especially about George Floyd family, especially when we watched that man die on video in front of not of one person, but multiple people who was there, even paramedics, people who was in who had public official status was there watching that man die. But To certain instances, Kanye was right about the Jewish community, you know, and even though we don't stand with him on that, we do experience some of the how can I say, some of the woes that is put onto us from the Jewish community, like implementation by plan and design. Now, I say that because that's an economic detriment that could be done onto others without being discriminated against. Did that make any sense? You see, just by them being partnering with the banks, being partnered with City Hall, being partnered with different construction businesses, being partnered with the Community Reinvestment Act assistance. These things are surrounded in our local community to help us. Those are our extended resources. And most of the time, especially where I come from in Passaic, New Jersey, you see how the Jewish community is separated from the lower minority group area, which you will just find minority groups.
Brother, are you still there? He was building and then he went out. I'm sitting there. He's like, because he's talking about the separation, because we see it in Baltimore, King Simon,
Right, right,
how
right,
they
right.
live in their own community, and
Right.
then you go down the street and it's the hood. You know, so in Baltimore, there's an area called Park Heights. So you got one side of Park Heights, we call that Jewtown. The other side of Park Heights, we call that the hood, and it's separated by a street called Northern Parkway. You know,
Right.
so Northern Parkway runs from what's that, west to east, and
Uh-huh.
then the Park Heights run north to south. And
Right.
so on the northern end, you know, you got the Jews, or on the
Yeah.
southern end, you got us. And so I'm sure it's like that in a lot of
Most
yeah,
cities. Most cities.
exactly,
Yeah. Most cities.
exactly. They have their own thing. So,
That's
oh
right.
man, I was looking forward to the brother. Can you hear us?
He froze. Look like he
Yeah,
froze.
he
Yeah.
gonna come in and come back out probably. But yeah, you said it's like that, King Simon, in most areas. Yeah,
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 you know, we got to, we again, you know, a lot of, you know, I like sister was saying, but you know, Kanye has been traumatized through his mom's loss, through his mom keeping away from his father, and now he I like that he was trying to big up his father, and now that he's getting to know his father, but he should have known him from back in those days to make the balance. Because if he was seeing a respectful relationship between a black man and a black woman, then it would be much better for him to at least deal with a black man and a black woman as far as marriage is concerned. So we got to look at his trauma too to make him do the things that he does. And of course, not, you know, we can't of course apologize for him. No, we can't do that. But because he's brilliant enough, he does have the wits, but he needs to get whoever he already had Minister Farrakhan on the recording. He needs to sit down and talk to him a little more. He needs to let him understand the background and the discipline and the protocols a little bit more, so everybody will know where they stand in this world of this world that we live in, man. And don't get caught up in the negative, but try to find balance on how to keep your mind at a higher level at all times, man. Because
absolutely.
you know it's a lot going on, and a lot of people are also becoming traumatized from what he said also, not just European community, but you know, the George Floyd family, all that stuff, everybody getting traumatized. But he was quoting something from what's her name's documentary, if we remember.
Right,
Candace.
he was, and see, and that's why, King Simon, we got to be careful of parroting things without
Exactly.
doing our due diligence. So, like you said, he watched the documentary that she put out there, but instead of saying, I mean, I guess, and he took it as face value. Okay, so she said it, so it must be accurate. What he
Right.
should have did was say, well, it's in this documentary, but
Of
let me
course.
go and just, confirm this. Let me go verify
Right,
this
right.
this this information that's being presented to me, and that's why we can't take things as face value. We always have to do our due diligence
Research.
prior to parroting or regurgitating something that we saw, something that we read. We have to verify it first. But he's not the only person that has done that, King Simon. We see that all the time on social media. People will see a meme and believe what the meme says, and then next the meme is circulating. It went viral, and then when you
Right.
actually sit down and do your due diligence, you're like, man, it's not even accurate. Like this and then people are just circulating it, and that's what qualified. That's misinformation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You
and then people don't mean any harm by it, but you sit there and you read something and you don't verify it, then we're circulating a bunch of misinformation. So we got to be careful. And I just kind of felt like with some of the things that I heard on Drink Champs,
yeah.
some of the things I heard King Simon, I just think that just as a celebrity, he needs to be more responsible with the things that he says out of his mouth.
You got to be, because celebrities are similar to like the court jesters, and you got to be witty with what you say, because the court jesters survived the royal killing or the royal chopping off of heads because they was witty and they made the kings and the queens laugh, but they also had knowledge. And they were spooks who sat by the doors. That's why they survived. Like the comedians of this day and time, it's not a negative thing to be what they quote as the court jester. It's just, it's like going back to your community after you done entertain the king, but you're telling your people, this is what it is, because they let me in the door to see what's happening. The spook who sat by the door concept, knowing how to be a spook, how to infiltrate and go behind enemy lines and bring back data. And act like, yeah, I'm still Kanye. Hey, yo, they just told me this. Because I'm still Kanye. Hey, what up? What up? Yo, you got to know how to do it.
And then he gotta shut up. Stop telling all the people you talk to and you throwing them in your stuff. Stop telling everything.
Yo, he throws names. He like to name drop.
Yes, he does. He's like, yeah, and then Meek Mill, and then P. Diddy, and then Ice Cube. And then
no. The big thing is when he said, I was on the jet with Elon and me and Bezos was doing that.
I was like, King Simon, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then he wondered why, and people keeping their distance from me. Yes, I understand why people are keeping their distance from you. You talk too damn much.
You call him my name. You call him my name in your conversation. Ice Cube had to say, yo, don't put my name in your motherfucking mouth.
Right. Ice Cube was like, hey, man, when did I get involved? And when did I get involved in this, man? Anyway, King Simon, we're going to close out. Thank you so much, King Simon, for coming through. Appreciate it. I give thanks for all the people who clicked the link and came in. So, African in Detroit, and it was the sister Gabe. And I feel like, what was the other brother's name? Tutmosis. Kufu. Right. Yeah, Tutmosis, Kufu, and you, King Simon. Thank you so much for stopping in. Family, I will be back live on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Read Book Club. We're going to be discussing Chapter 7 of the book, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. And so even if you don't have the book, family, tune in, because I'm telling you, you're going to learn some stuff. Like last week, we talked about the origin of the white flight phenomenon. So when did it start and why did it start? Like when, why, and how, right? Did they start this whole white flight phenomenon? And so we unpacked that last week. And so we've been really taking a deep dive into how the U.S. government segregated America, and not only segregated America, but prevented Black Americans from purchasing homes, right? Which was really purchasing a house is like a tool to build wealth in the middle class, right? And so when you lock Black people out of that, then you're preventing us from an opportunity to accumulate wealth, and not only to accumulate wealth, but to perpetuate wealth. And so we've been talking about that, family. So join me back here, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Read Book Club this Sunday. Peace and Black power. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Peace and Black